Hi, I'm Mark Sumner, CEO and founder of Robertson Sumner. Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast, where we will share learnings, best practices and failures with some of the biggest names in the IT industry.
Today we had the pleasure of being joined by Sean Doggett and James Kavanagh from Cyber Vigilance, exploring further as to how Sean and James have built a business from the ground up purely with technical knowledge, utilising the channel for their sales leads and go-to-market strategy, as well as delving further into other technical topics such as contract versus permanent employment, which one's best, looking at the impact that IR35 will have on the market when it hits come April this year. So sit back, listen and enjoy. Hi and welcome to another episode of the Channel Chat podcast with your host Calum Lyle. Today I have the pleasure of being joined actually by two people today. Today I'm joined by Sean Doggett and James Kavanagh from Cyber Vigilance. Hi guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you here. It's going to be a bit of a different episode today, I think, chaps, because you've both got more of a technical background. We've had a lot of salespeople in who have sort of developed through the IT channel. Today it's a bit more of a technical focus, but now running a business in Cyber Vigilance. But how we start every single podcast is asking our guests, and today two of you. So I'll start with you, Sean. How did you get into IT? So tell me about the beginning.
Okay, so going right back to the beginning, it's a bit of I sort of fell into IT really. Initially, I wanted to do music technology.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I was an avid guitar player. I don't get time to play much these days. But yeah, I essentially went to college. I took on music technology.
Okay.
And I thought to myself at the time, it was probably a good idea to do IT as well, to sort of couple those two things together. So if I run into troubles, I hopefully I'll be able to troubleshoot it and resolve it. And then it transpired that I ended up taking a double IT award. So it was like double award for IT, and I was doing the single award for music tech. And then in the second year, they clashed, so I had to drop.
So it's pick.
So I had to drop music technology in order to be able to get through college. So I ended up just focusing on IT. Went to uni, did computer network management and design there.
Where did you go to uni?
Portsmouth, yeah.
Okay.
Had a good time there first couple of years.
Yeah,
as
we all do. Yeah,
as you do. And then went on to do an industrial placement year with a company called Quantum Marketing.
Okay, yeah, know them. So sort of outsourced telemarketing.
Yeah, so business to business telemarketing. At the time, I think they've evolved now to a digital marketing agency as things have got more difficult with GDPR and whatnot and cold calling.
Yeah.
So whilst I was there, I really sort of dug in and started to learn my trade. Spent a lot of time learning Linux there because they were an open source house at the time, and went back to uni and really sort of dug in.
I think just to sort of delve a bit more into that, because that's quite interesting to a lot of our listeners or people who have they might be at university now, they might have just been a grad, or even they might be a parent who's got a child through university thinking actually sales or IT or the IT channel might be a good place for them to work. That placement year, I did a placement year as well. It's quite a useful tool in order to actually make yourself a bit more marketable when you graduate, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say to anyone that's at university now in their second year and have the opportunity to go and do a sandwich year, or take a year out to go and work in industry, absolutely do it, for two reasons. One, you get to apply the knowledge that you've got from the first 2 years of uni. Yeah. Secondly, when you finish your final year of uni, you've got something to talk about when you're going and interviewing for job roles, and it puts you just that cut above the rest. So absolutely.
And we went for lunch earlier, and you spoke about actually something you did on your first day at Quantum, and I quite like that wee story.
It was probably the first week when I was there. I identified the process for adding new starters into this environment. As I mentioned before, it was all open source, so it was all based on Linux domain controllers, Zimbra mail servers. We're going back a few years now, so things have evolved since then. But the process of adding a new user or a new starter could take anywhere up to half a day per user. So when they had these influx of 20 users that are coming in to join a telemarketing campaign, it could take up to a week to get them all set up. So I saw that as an opportunity that, well, surely there's a quicker way to do this. So I essentially wrote a PHP application, web application that essentially logged into each of the servers, ran all the commands that needed to be run for each user. And essentially all you had to do in the web application was put the first name, second name, click go, and it would do it. So something that was taking half a day was sort of narrowed down to just a couple of minutes.
Cocky little grad coming in and,
exactly,
and
nothing's
taking
changed. I was going to say, nothing's changed.
Okay, good. So you've then graduated. So you will have left Portsmouth and you went to Nebulous.
Yeah.
Then,
So that was my first bite of the apple, I guess, going into the channel. So I took the decision to go into cybersecurity. It was interesting that year when I went back to uni. It was the year that the first Sony PlayStation Network attack happened, and the media started to report on cybersecurity issues, and I looked at that and I went, "There's an opportunity here. I think this is a growing market." So. I took the decision to focus on security. My dissertation project, I ended up doing a project around Windows vulnerabilities, essentially hacking Windows, doing forensic memory analysis, stuff like that. And then I utilised all of that, plus my experience at Quantum, to go and interview for Nebulous and get into the channel and doing,
perfect.
With those guys.
And how was the experience there? So Nebulous are kind of a security consultancy type business, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So at the time, I mean, they've been quite acquired twice now since then, but during my time there, I was involved in both pre-sales, post-sales, and sometimes operational support as well. Those guys, so it would help the sales guys go to customers and present technology solutions, and then we also be responsible for actually implementing those too. Okay,
and then you moved on to. So you left that was a permanent role, and then you went into a contract role with Wickhill.
I did indeed, yeah. So I spent 4 years with Nebulous, and I got to the point where I felt going and doing the installs and walking away, I wasn't really learning much. So I wanted to go and essentially work somewhere for a prolonged period of time where you can learn the pain points and whatnot. I ended up going to Wickhill because I wanted to take the first contract that was made available to me. You take these things, especially when you're going into
and you left on Friday and started Monday. Right?
I did, I was so lucky. I was so lucky. It's one of the things with contracting is that people tend to want you immediately. They've got immediate requirements, so they'll get you in. They want you yesterday. The problem was when you move from permanent employment to contracting, is you usually got at least a month's notice period to serve out. So I had to take a gamble. I saved up 3 months' salary and handed my notice in, and then luckily I interviewed on, I think it was on the Wednesday the last week at Nebulous, and I got offered a role and started the following Monday.
Perfect.
Then straight into contracting there with Wickhill. I think it's Nuvias Group now.
Nuvias, and then NTT. So back into sort of a reseller / security consultancy type business.
So with Wickhill, I ended up doing checkpoint third line support for them, distributor level support, and then the opportunity to go and work with NTT for one of their customers. This is when I started becoming a white labeled, I guess, professional services consultant. So for them, I went to one of their customers, did a pretty large proxy migration for their customer, helped them, which was quite odd at the time, move back from the cloud proxy solution that they had back on premise, which was really the reverse of what everyone else was doing at the time. But they were having such trouble with their cloud proxy solution that we need to bring it back in house. So I helped them deliver that. As we were talking about earlier on over lunch, essentially I built up a really good relationship with the customer. And identified other opportunities within that customer, create this what I call stickiness within the customer, make it hard for them to get rid of me. And identified that they were looking at renewing their firewalls globally. So I said, well, I can do that. I did that with Nebulous. I was helping customers find what the best solution for them would be. So I helped them do a vendor agnostic sort of bake off of all the providers that are out there. Help them,
got Paul Hollywood in, and
so I helped them define what their requirements were. So I went to different stakeholders within their organisation, security teams, operations teams, defined what the requirements were for a new firewall solution. And we went out and we brought the vendors in to come and present those solutions to us, help us tick off the boxes for each, and help them choose which vendor to move forward with.
I think that's really interesting. I think that will be actually quite good knowledge for a lot of our technical listeners to have, in terms of, I think of what you've done there as quite an account managery type responsibility, i.e. gone in, your project is this, you've actually then gone and identified other pain points or other areas where you can help.
It's about really taking a step back from being just an engineer to becoming more of a consultant. And for me, being a consultant is being able to sit there, listen to people's pain points, ask probing high quality questions, and really understand what's going on within the business, and then offer solutions to those.
And from your experience, because what's beautiful about your background is you've worked for every element of the channel, from sort of security or consultancy type reseller to distributor in a Wickhill or a Nuvius, then through to, we'll talk about in a second, sort of HPE or Symantec. Do you find other technical people or technical engineers are doing that on a regular basis when you're in that environment? Are they asking those probing questions, or are they just fulfilling the project that they've got at that time?
I think it differs between the different, I guess, people that I've been working with. So maybe not so much with the HPs and the NTTs and whatnot, because the people that are generally in there are there to deliver a specific engagement, and it's kind of like what I was doing when I was at Nebulous. I've been sent in, go and do this, and then when you're done, go and start the next one somewhere else tomorrow.
Okay.
When you're working with the likes of your Symantecs and whatnot, again, you're there specifically for working on a particular engagement, but the people, or the level of the people that you're working with there, are architects, and they're looking at solutions across the board. So when you're delivering, say, vendor level professional services, it's kind of a little bit a cut above the rest, and it kind of has to be, because they're paying quite a premium for that. It varies across those different entities.
Perfect. And then you went into both HP and Symantec. So and let's dig into the Symantec a little bit more, because that was the first role in Europe. And you were working out of Germany, so you were flying out on Monday, coming back on a Friday.
It was challenging. Especially we had a 6-month-old daughter at the time, and so it was hard on my wife. But
hard enough working from home, never mind in Germany.
So it was tough for her, but I had to kind of take had to take it on, because it was such a great opportunity. Kick myself if I hadn't. And I'm still working on that opportunity now, albeit fully remotely now. So it was definitely the right thing to take on, and it was nice as well to go and work in another country as well, meet different types of people as well from different backgrounds.
I think that's quite an interesting point as well for our listeners, because we're finding as a recruitment business within the channel, a lot of our customers, whether they're resellers, distribution, vendor, are coming to us and saying, we want a German salesperson, or we want a German techie, or we're working a lot more roles out in that region. What are the differences between the UK market and the German market, from your experience, for anyone looking to explore that?
That's a really tough question.
Are there any sort of cultural differences in terms of how they do business, or?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I would say is that in Germany the workforce is very protected, so very clear-cut hours. You have to start, once they start at a certain time, they work the amount of hours that they are allowed to work, that the workers' councils will allow them to work, and then they can't work any more than that.
I heard that actually, because sometimes they block emails or something after a certain time or something.
I haven't seen anything like that.
There's some people who they're really strict with.
Yeah, so if you want a resource, a German resource, for example, to work at, let's say, out of hours, you usually will have to go and get workers' council approval. So they have workers' councils within their organisations to ensure that their employees have been looked after and they're not being overworked, and very well protected over there.
Nothing like that here.
No. Which is funny, because it's completely opposite.
It is, absolutely.
Like here, when myself and James, we were working on an engagement together in Edinburgh at Royal Bank of Scotland. We were doing 12-hour days, literally putting in the hard work, and we're very, the two of us, and James will agree, we have a really sort of high work ethic. We work till the job's done, that type of thing. But if we were to try and apply that, say if we were in Germany, we're trying to apply that, the law stipulates that you have to stop. You can't do it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because actually I'm like that, sort of running this team, the business, etc. The work ethic or it drives you're nuts. And I think especially within a sales environment or within an IT environment where you're running a business, I feel like I've got to be the first one in the office and the last one out, or even and that's just a stupid thought. Because I'll go away and work at home. Yeah. No one even notices I'm gone. No. There's something in my head, so it's kind of actually that's probably quite a good way of working to a degree. Mm-hmm. So I think. No, let's cover you as well, James. Don't want to completely leave you out the conversation. So you've had an experience through a whole host of different industries, not just the IT channel, but it's predominantly been sort of technical. So take me through where it started for you.
So it started working for my dad. Basically, yeah. Funny enough, he actually started buying fax machines from Tanzania. Selling them,
as we all do.
As yeah. Well, he lived there in the 60s.
Okay.
And speaks fluent Swahili, which is random.
Useful skill.
However, so he had contacts there, and he bought fax machines, and then started selling them from our farm. It was a working farm at the time.
Okay.
It was a farmer, and then it moved into sort of he was able to buy some PCs as well. So sort of cheap and sort of deal. Yep. So he thought, right, let's start selling PCs. Then they bought a shop in Bedford. They became the first ISP in Bedford. And I was doing my A-levels, and he said, "Do you want a job?" I said, "Yeah, okay, great. I don't have to try. I didn't want to go to uni. I just wanted to start working."
Yeah.
And so it was the three of us working for a few years there. It was a very tiny salary, but that's all they could afford to pay me at the time. And then so I learned a lot about being responsible for your and also it's your own company. So literally, if you don't work, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
And you have to be there. No matter what. And then one of our customers approached me and offered me a job with double the salary. So I said, yes, please, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So I was like, see you later, Dad. And my dad called me Judas for about 2 years. They didn't really speak to me properly because I was abandoning the family business.
That's difficult, isn't it? Resigning is difficult enough, but when it's your old man, it's...
I know. And he's a hard taskmaster.
Oh, really?
He's quite old school.
Is he forgiven you? No.
Oh yeah, no, we speak now.
Okay,
we're on talking terms, so it's okay now. Yeah. Actually, I actually generated a lot of business for them through the client I went to work for. Because we were still a customer.
Okay.
So I obviously
that made it a bit easier.
It softened the
to
blow.
get rid of the Judas nickname.
That's it. And he replaced me with my brother anyway later on, so it's fine.
Okay.
So I worked for a company called Smith's Metal Centres.
Okay.
Excuse me. And they were, funnily enough, a metal centre.
Yep.
And they had offices all over the country. And so when I first joined there, it was like a very lowly engineer type role. And I was going around the country. They gave me a van with some tools and what have you. And I'd go around and spend a day at each of the offices, stay in hotels, and then drive to the next one. And basically fix any problems they had there, or I'd put together a list of jobs that needed doing and just go around and do that. So I was there for, again, a couple of years, I think it was, and then I moved into another sort of a managed kind of service provider type role.
Okay.
Again, I as I said to you before, I've never stayed in a job longer than 2 years.
Yeah, I noticed that throughout your profile. Yeah.
Yeah, I've sort of reached the limit of what I can do or what's available for me to do, and I want to challenge myself, constantly challenge myself and learn new technologies. So I kind of jumped around a bit, and as you say, it shows on my CV.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, actually, I went for an interview and someone said, "Are you a contractor?" And I said, "No, I'm permanent." He was like, "Okay."
I was sort of saying to you that earlier. I've maybe from a slight. You're sceptical, or I'm always sceptical as a recruiter looking at a CV and thinking someone's the actual, as if for a candidate out there, I guess. My sort of timeline is somewhere less than a year, because actually if you've been less than a year, it probably means you haven't been successful, or you haven't passed your probation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if you've been somewhere 2 years, you can kind of see that. You can kind of see, actually I've done everything I can here. Did you find that as a good way to progress and maybe earn a bit more money?
Well, that was the only way to get more money, because generally, if you sit around and wait to get pay rises, it's not going to happen, because once you're in a company, it's not difficult to keep you in some respects.
Yeah.
Until you get to a certain position or a certain level of experience where you can then make your own decisions and do what you want to do. So I kind of just sort of moved around and various companies, different roles, always trying to overachieve or strive to the next level that was available to me in the technology that I was working on, or a new tech or something like that. So.
Yeah. And then, so what point did you meet?
So, well, I mean, so that was at RBS in Edinburgh. It was on a very large 100,000 user base proxy migration. It was shortly after I moved to Newcastle, and I was out of work for about 6 to 8 weeks or something. This was when I was after I became a contractor.
Yeah.
I was starting to get a little bit nervous because the coffers were running dry. I'd moved in with my now wife. We were looking to get married, so we had.
And I think you're just for the listeners out there, I think you're the only person to ever move from Bournemouth to Newcastle.
Yeah, normally it's the other way around, isn't it? You sort of move towards the nice weather rather than away from it. So I moved up there, and anyway, I got a call about an interview my technical lies with the Microsoft family.
Yeah.
Whereas Sean's obviously more of a sort of network security engineer, or consultant, started off in. And I had when I was working for Site Silver Sands, a Microsoft Gold partner.
Yeah.
Well, part of my speciality there was proxies, the Microsoft offering, which weren't that popular. However, RBS had a lot of them, 120 servers and what have you. And I was brought in for that side of it, and then I learned about Symantec Bluecoat. Bluecoat at the time. It was all new to me, but I thought, great, another thing to learn, another thing to add onto my CV.
Yep.
I found it really interesting, and then the project progressed, and then the lady that was brought in, the specialist, she went on maternity leave, and then Sean was brought in, and we just clicked straight away. As Sean mentioned earlier, very similar work ethos.
Yeah.
Both driven, both kind of want to make sure the job's done correctly.
Yeah.
Because there are ways of doing things, and as contractors you can walk away from it. But I think we almost take pride of work as if we were permanent, as if we were part of the company.
That's interesting as well, because I was saying to the two of you earlier, we, because of our background of being mainly IT sales and now moving into tech, we've only got 4 tech consultants, but no one wants a temp or contract business development person or a account manager.
Right.
So we've never really branched into the contract market, and now we'll go into later the IR35 sort of scenario coming in April. Is kind of forcing us even further from that potentially. But you mentioned there quite an interesting point, James. Someone going into a contract role can actually walk away from that role and maybe not half-assed, but they may be not as emotionally involved, or
you kind of, as a permanent employee, you're part of the company. Well, I always felt as though I was part of the company, and therefore I'm there to do a good job, and it's got to be done properly, right? So and as a contractor, you get brought in as a specialist for a particular role, project piece or something like that, but you kind of I think
it's two ways to approach it, right? So, as a contractor going into a business, you can, as I was alluding to earlier on, you can go and you can focus more like an engineer.
Yeah.
You can focus on what it is that you're brought to do and do nothing more.
Yeah.
And then walk away from it when you believe that job's done, or they get rid of you, or
whatever happens. Yep.
Or you can take a bit more pride. I'm not saying someone that's focusing doesn't take pride in the work, but what I'm saying is you can do that, but you can also ask the high value questions, look for other ways that you can help, and I think that's what I think what we both did within RBS as well, which was so I was brought in to help them with Bluecoat.
Yeah.
But I also brought the benefit of experience with F5s, firewalls, all these things, and I wasn't brought in to do that, but I was helping them achieve the results with those as well. Yeah. It's been and creating that stickiness then as well, right? So you're making it so hard for them to get rid of you because they become to rely on you.
Yeah, and as a contractor, that's the dream.
That is the golden ticket.
The big downside is the job security, and actually it could end any time. But if you're really sticky, if you're asking those higher value questions as a contractor, that's the way to go.
Exactly,
right?
you make yourself invaluable.
And that's definitely what I've tried to do with each of my roles. James does exactly the same thing as well, and I identified that. So that's why I made it so easy to go, James, you're the guy that I want to go into business with.
Perfect. And then you met in Edinburgh, and hit off. Cyber Vigilance was born.
Yep.
How long have you guys been going?
November 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
about a year and a half.
Yeah, it's about almost a year and a half now. There's actually a year's gap between when the contract finished within RBS and when we started the business. We kind of went our separate ways. I started working with Symantec, their company in Germany, and so I saw an opportunity to spoke with James, saw an opportunity to start up the new company.
What was that opportunity? Going into a bit more.
So the opportunity for us, the opportunity was the ability to be able to partner directly with Symantec to deliver white label professional services. I was already doing that, but I was doing it through an intermediary.
Okay.
So therefore, there was another. I think there's 4 intermediaries between me and the end customer. Essentially, what we were able to do is we were able to take one of those intermediaries out, and then as a result, we're able to take some of that margin back as well. And it also then enables us to be able to go out to the market and essentially become that intermediary ourselves for other people in the market too. Excuse me.
Perfect.
So that was really the opportunity there. The other part of that as well, and I think something that you alluded to a second ago, was I could see what was coming on the horizon with regards to IR35. Limited companies with single directors are starting to be sort of, I'm not going to say demonised, but looked foul upon. There was, I think, quite a bit of bad press going about. And what I wanted to do was to try and get ahead of that. Spoke with James when we need to kind of get ahead of that. We need to step back from being these, what HMRC would say is a personal services company, which we are a single person working and delivering solutions, but we had many different customers and whatnot. But we wanted to basically just wipe that question, wipe that clean and go. We're two people working with the business initially. We've got more people now, but we're two people with different customers working on different engagements. We're not a personal services company. We're a professional services company, really. Same letters. PSC, professional services company. But so it's so that we can sort of get ahead of that and make sure that there's never going to be any sort of question mark over our business.
And with that IR35 point, are you foreseeing more technical candidates or technical employees out there in the market moving from contract to a perm role?
I think so. As we were talking about earlier on, that's kind of been forced upon a lot of people with the IR35 piece. A lot of organisations, particularly in banking, finance, have blanket putting people outside IR35 and inside IR35.
We're outside.
We're outside. So let me get the right way around. And then essentially forcing them into umbrella companies under PAYE, so essentially becoming employed under those companies. And that model doesn't work for us because we've got our own business, James, for example, and myself. We can't go and do PAYE because then we wouldn't be able to filter that money back into our business. So, so I imagine there's going to be a lot going back in, a lot of people moving into those umbrella companies, at least initially, whilst companies that are sort of doing these blanket taking these blanket decisions, figure out what it is they need to do in order to facilitate the market.
And also realise that they're losing a lot of skilled resources. Yeah. And what will happen is the projects will get delayed or what have you. Then they'll suddenly think, crikey, we've got to get some specialist SMEs in. Yeah. Let's draw up some outside IR35 contracts to get the right people in. And that's what will happen, and that's what's happened with the public sector, which happened in 2017, where they introduced this IR35 legislation, and suddenly everyone was going PAYE, but quite often now you see a lot of contracts being offered outside of IR35, specifically saying outside IR35. To get the skills.
Interesting, isn't it? So it's just going to be a bit of a
challenging
transition period, and then after that, it could
will line itself out. People will start to realise it's just knee-jerk reaction. People, organisations are trying to take care of, ensure that don't become liable and essentially finable, I guess, in the future, right? I wouldn't say it's finable, but they'll end up being liable for paying PAYE contributions and things like that. So it's
And a question that I want to move on to, because neither of you have any formal sales experience, and we have a lot of people on this podcast, or the majority of people, the sort of stereotypical route, which isn't followed by everyone. We've had Alex Tatham and got Graham Watt in actually tomorrow, who have started a bit more financial background. But the stereotypical route is go into sales, develop your way up into sales. The SD usually becomes the MD, and then CEO or whatever the case may be. You both have technical backgrounds. Has that hindered you, or is that hindering you now in any way, shape or form, would you say?
Absolutely.
I was going to say, there are certain challenges that we're discovering that maybe,
beating around the bush. Absolutely. So what we find is there's a very different challenge, actually. So there's definitely challenges in from building up a business like ours and doing it sales focused first, in that you have all these leads coming through, and then you're relying on, say, distribution or the vendors to be able to deliver the technical piece, and that resource isn't necessarily always available. We've invested a lot of time in skilling up ourselves and our employees in our technology partners. SentinelOne is one of those partners. Okay. And what we're finding now is difficult because we don't have it's something we're working on. Yeah. So let's be clear, we're working on it. But because we haven't lead gen, we didn't have direct customers yet, because most of what we do is white labelled. We're finding it difficult to then get ourselves or get our company in front of direct customers. But yeah, like I say, we're working on that. And we'll see what happens over the coming months. So.
Yeah, coming up with ideas to generate leads and then generate clients and actually promote our business as well.
And as you mentioned actually a minute ago, Sean, that's one of the big uses of the IT channel. Like a SentinelOne or whoever can, I guess, send leads your way, which I imagine.
Absolutely. So I think what's starting to happen now is that the vendors that we're partnering with see the investment that we're putting into ourselves technically, so they're starting to realise we can be a trusted pair of hands with their leads. So they're giving us the opportunity. They're, I guess, chucking us a bone every now and again and going, here you go, guys, go and chase this one down, see how you get on. And that's been going pretty well. We've been talking to some new customers and doing proof of concepts, and getting our new guys involved as well. So it's starting to take shape, let's say now.
Exactly. Exactly.
And are there plans outside of that to? This isn't me as a recruiter trying to pitch you a salesperson in any way, shape or form, but we can get you any interviews you want. Is there plans to sort of expand from a sales and marketing perspective? Because you've got 4 people within the business.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so we're all technical at this stage. Yeah. So the idea is to see how we get on now with generating. So we have some leads being handed our way currently. We've also got some a lead generation campaign going on in March. Okay. So some outbound lead generation going on.
We're also tapping up old contacts in the industry as well, because we've you ask a question, don't you? If you get told no, that's fine. Can't move on. Yeah. But you have to ask the question.
Exactly. So the idea now is to see how we get on with those activities. See if we can get some kind of pipeline going, after which then we can start thinking about looking at salespeople, because fundamentally I understand that there's no point getting a good salesperson if you've not got any good lead generation going on or any leads there for them to
and I guess we kind of half alluded to this earlier, in the sense of you asking those probing and thought-provoking questions in the right moments. I imagine actually for someone who's technical out there's a lot of overlap within the 2 roles as well. We kind of think of sales and tech. And I was saying earlier, when we started doing technical recruitment, I sort of panicked, because I've always spoken to salespeople, and you think, these guys aren't going to have a personality, and
we're here to prove this wrong, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly, that's the goal. But it shows there's actually a lot of transferable skills that can be.
Absolutely, I think a lot of those skills we'll learn as and when I went contracting, because you start talking to different seniority levels within the business as well. Certain things rub off from those different seniorities within the business as well. So we can talk to people like the financial decision makers, we talk to CEOs, we talk to people
on the
right at the bottom of the business
on the
as well.
ground as well.
Yeah.
You know, so people actually doing the work.
And I think as well with that contract path, or even James, your path of moving every couple of years or looking for that next opportunity, a great sales trait is actually interviewing. So going to someone and saying, hey, I'm Sean, hey, I'm James, this is what I can offer you. And you're kind of selling yourself, so you kind of use some sales skills in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean you've got to back yourself anyway, and if you know that you know what you're doing, it makes it a lot easier. Obviously, you know. And the last role before I started contracting, that was it was a pre-sales technical consultant role. Eventually. Yeah. And you know I'd be going out, and as Sean was doing the same. You know, you present on your subject, and you know I've given PowerPoint presentations in front of a room of 20 people at a technical level, but you have to also then work out, you have to read the room a bit, and you know, and you have to try and tailor your presentation around the level of technical experience in the room, because you know, in a big room you get the techies in there that, you know, generally, you know, as you say, stereotypically kind of just keep their head down and just listen to what you're saying, don't really, might ask a question here and there, but then you get the executives who are then firing questions at you that aren't in anything technical. It's around business or process or something like that, you know, or ROI, what's going to happen, and then you have to be able to answer those as well. And, that all comes with experience, of course.
Yeah, so. And I'm going to probe into something you just said. You said reach consultant eventually. Yeah. You mentioned earlier how you did that, and I quite like that because that's transferable across sales, technical, marketing, whatever. In terms of asking for that promotion or asking for that opportunity, so just tell our listeners how you went from engineer to consultant.
Yeah, so I was employed as an engineer, and they started putting me into consultancy work. So I was put in front of the customer, I was sent out to customer site. I was actually doing a higher technical level of work, and I basically sort of thought, hang on a minute, I should be earning more money here, because I'm doing a different role, I'm doing the work. And every time I sort of approach, or in my one-to-ones or my reviews, I'd say, right, I think I'm ready to become a consultant now. Oh well, you know, you haven't done this or you haven't done that. I was like, right, okay. And then the last before I got made into a consultant, I basically printed off, and I probably shouldn't, you know, save the planet and everything. You know, it wasn't environmentally friendly, but I printed off all of the consultancy work that I'd done in the last 6 months, and I took it to my review, / interview, and I basically put it on the desk and said, there you go, that's the consultancy work I've been doing. And my boss at the time, he was like, I'd forgotten about this. And they gave me the consultancy role because they had no choice. I'd proved to them that I was doing the work that I should have been.
Yeah,
it's about putting something tangible in front of them.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's very easy, especially for someone that might be looking after multiple consultants, engineers. It's hard to remember, you know, what exactly that you might have done over the last 6 months. So I think that's a really good thing, like putting something tangible in front of them.
Absolutely.
Look, this is what.
Don't go with a problem. Don't go with a problem, aka I want to be promoted. Go with the solution of this is what I've done.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's think of the solution, not the problem.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So work towards that.
Exactly. So just going on for Cyber Vigilance and telling a bit more about that story. So you've got the office in Guildford at the moment, looking to grow that. Where do you see the business over the? I'm not going to ask 5-year plan and all that stereotypical question, but where do you see the business progressing? What's the sort of immediate and maybe longer term plan?
Yeah, definitely. So
immedia's the office move, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So immediately so in May we've got an office move into a slightly larger premises, which has given us meeting room capabilities, ability to entertain clients, essentially potentially run training camps and things like that. So these are the things that we've got in our minds for the future. Immediate for the business, we want to continue delivering professional services because that's what we're really good at. We can definitely help potential customers in the future, put together solutions. So one of the things that I want to be, I want to be put on paper or put down is that we can be very vendor agnostic, and definitely myself and James as well. We'll talk to customers, we'll find out what the pain points are and help them come up with solutions to their challenges. Obviously, technology sometimes is going to do that. Sometimes their existing technology, we can help them use that to resolve those challenges as well. But in terms of services, we're also growing a managed endpoint detection and response service, which is going to be powered by a SentinelOne. So I chosen vendor for that. And that kind of takes us into the reselling type of side of things as well. So moving from services to resales, we're leading with SentinelOne at the moment. trying to grow our capabilities as a reseller. As obviously we've alluded to already, we're two technical guys trying to move towards sales.
It's interesting that though, because the whole shift of resellers, so that reseller market, the VAR market, the services, MSPs or whatever you want to call them, all do the same kind of thing, but majority of whom go from shifting tin to services. You're kind of going
the other way around.
The other way, exactly.
Well, I think as part of the
extent.
Service that we're looking to offer, we have to do that.
Definitely.
We like to think of our solutions as well. We as consultants, been from going on customer site, we've identified that what you want to try and do is you want to try and understand, as you mentioned, pain points.
Yeah.
And you want to talk to business and get an understanding of exactly what they require, rather than saying this is the solution you need. So you kind of tailor it around that, and then hopefully that will put us above everyone else in that respect.
So what's interesting, right? There's been many occasions when I've been doing white labelled work on behalf of your NTTs, your DXCs, that kind of thing, where I've identified a pain point, and then gone, hey guys, go and look at this. Like with NTT, when we moved on to the firewall evaluation, and I simply was not in a position then to be able to go, hey, come and buy that off us.
Yeah.
Come and buy that off me. Couldn't do that because I was a white labelled professional services guy. So we're kind of putting ourselves in this unique position where we're on the ground with these people and with our customers. We're able to identify these pain points, and if they go, okay, well actually we probably need this solution, we go, great, come and buy that from us.
Yeah.
We can help you with that.
Yeah, you're not sending them elsewhere.
It'll be a tailored service. It won't be an off the shelf,
exactly.
software.
So it's all about the wraparound around that as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's where we'll make, I guess, the most margin is through our services, and that obviously that's what we do today, because we're not really selling tin just yet. But definitely there's so much more margin to be made on our services, and we pride ourselves in our services too.
That's really exciting. And in terms of just the sort of employee growth and that side of the business, you're now at four employees, still all technical. You found all those employees through sort of external sources or whatever. But what's interesting with that, you talked through the sort of interview process there, because I'm quite interested. Obviously, I'm not going to bore you with too much recruitment chat because no one wants to do that. But it's always quite interesting learning about people's sort of interview process and how they go about finding people, assessing people, making sure they're the right fit for not only the sort of the role but also the culture of the business. Just talk us through how you went about hiring and the process for both of those individuals.
Yeah, so if I think about it, Nebulous really was the only interview process that I properly went through.
That's interesting.
If you think about it,
because there's some big companies there.
That's a professional. Yeah, so I mean, I had like conversations on the phone, talk through like what I've done technically. So you could probably say it's an interview, but it was maybe one phone call for each of those. And then maybe a talk with the customer then afterwards. But with Nebulous, that was probably my one and only true, I guess, career-based interview process, and I essentially stole that.
I'm only laughing because I've been through so many interviews. The whole process literally.
So
he's had
the benefit of going through a few of those in his time. And but what I really enjoyed about the interview process with Nebulous was how it challenged me, and so had an initial call, was invited to an interview, so I went and did an initial interview with those guys, and they gave me a technical questionnaire to fill out before I went in. They reviewed it and they came in, they brought me in and said, okay, so why do you answer that, that? I like absolutely aced that. Nailed it. And so the next part of the interview process was then they gave me a technical subject, which I'd never done before. It was Palo Alto firewalls at the time,
which you now know very well.
Which I'm very well know now. And they come back in 2 days' time and present to us your findings on this technology. So like a pre-salesy kind of presentation. And what I loved about that was, or what I love about that now, it was obviously nerve-wracking at the time.
Yeah.
But what I love about that now is I can understand why that was such a good process.
Absolutely,
in that you're giving someone technical essentially what you want to find from that candidate is whether that they've got the ability to absorb important information quickly, but you're also, when they're presenting it back to you, you're identifying whether they've got the skills required to go in front of a customer and articulate that information. And that's exactly what we did with the two guys that we took on. They went through that process, absolutely nailed it. We were really impressed with those guys. And they were able to articulate themselves really well to us.
It's sort of they're not working out, are they going to be a consultant or just a basic techie guy? So they're going to ask those high-end questions.
It's a combination of the technical and the soft skills to go around that.
Yeah. I can't for the life of me remember the name of the book. But it's a HubSpot book which I read recently, which is along those lines. And their philosophy, or the philosophy I learned from that, was kind of like that. So I give you a task, Sean. You're going to come back and meet me. Here's something you don't really know. And their philosophy was, ask Sean to present, ask the candidate to present, whoever that may be, present it, give them feedback of the bits they didn't think were great, and then come back within 10 minutes, and then it kind of takes that to a next level of picking up.
So we might steal that now.
Well, funny you should touch on that, because at the moment we're rerunning through like our demo to the clients that we're going to run through. So it's a demo of the product, how you interact with it, what it can give you, what value add is it, and we've run through that sort of 3 or 4 times now with both of our engineers, and we're swapping their roles within it as well, so they can both cover both the introduction and then the technical presentation.
So that's like the introduction to our company. So one of them will do the hi Mr. Customer, we're Cyber Vigilance, this is what we offer, this is our experience. Well, I'm going to hand you over to Jackson now. He's going to take you through technical, and then we role reverse. Yeah. So we get into so they're learning how to do the position in the company, and then they're also learning how to deliver a technical demo to customers as well. Yeah. And then we're doing that weekly at the moment. Yeah. So
that's really interesting.
We want it to be slick.
Of course.
That is our first real introduction to the client. Yeah. And you want it to. We're offering professional services. We need to be professional.
It's hard. That's an interesting move as well, because you always panic about that. Especially when it's your own business. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're introducing it for the first time. And the way that most businesses work is it's the most junior person doing that. It's the telesales person calling up and saying, hi, it's Cyber Vigilance, and getting their words muddled. But that's why that training piece is so important.
We want our first impression to be slick.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
And the guys are starting to really, really nail that. We're really, really impressed with them.
Good.
So,
good. Couple of bits I want to tie in before we finish up. It's the technical, from like another bit of a recruitment background, technical benefits and then the sort of contract benefits of being a contractor and not having any sort of employee benefits. How did that experience affect you throughout your career? Because I'm such a culture-led leader, and when you're not really part of that, or when you don't have the incentives, it can be quite difficult. So was that a challenge as a contractor within the tech market?
Well, okay. So one of the benefits of being employed is you get sick pay. Okay.
Yeah.
And holiday
and pension, private healthcare, or depending on where you're working, all that kind of stuff. That all goes obviously as a contractor, and if you don't work, you don't get paid. As simple as that.
Yeah.
When I was a permanent employee, I didn't take a day off sick for 4.5 years. At one point, that was my longest run, and so I took that into the contract world, because I thought, well, I'm touch wood, I'm not a sick person as such. I've got a fairly decent constitution, so that transferred quite well for myself. And you can pay for you pension wise, you can still do your own pension, but obviously you can do it through the company or for yourself. You have a couple of options there. But other than that,
at the end of the day, the benefit is that you control your own destiny. I think to a certain degree. If you're a highly skilled resource, you're generally making a lot more money than an equivalent person in the permanent role. But there's obviously drawbacks to that, which is you're not necessarily going to be in work all the time. You might get a 3-month contract, and then you might be out of work for the next 9 months. So then when you divide that across the year, it's not such a good pay.
No. It's a big step. It really is. I know Sean touched on it earlier. He had to give a month's notice with nothing to go, but you saved up to 3 months. Mm-hmm. I did the opposite. I had a 3-month notice period. I had no savings. I was just fed up with my job and the way they were treating me. So I handed my notice in, and then my contract. I literally finished on I found out about my next contract, my first contract, on the Thursday before I was due to finish. and I started on Monday. It was
Okay, so it worked out
perfectly. So
well
yeah,
for
yeah,
both of you,
yeah,
it worked out
exactly.
Yeah, so I think I've definitely been very fortunate in how the contracts. So that there's been very little in the way of gaps between each of my engagements.
But that's it's because you know what you're doing. So you can demonstrate this
Touch
skill.
wood, long way.
Well, yeah, no, but the thing is, you can demonstrate again and again this skill set that you have, and it's sought after. So once you
Absolutely,
do that,
and that's something, especially
again,
within the
back
job
yourself.
market. You've got to back yourself. You've got to be good at what you do.
Yeah.
Like people, there's no jobs, so people are stealing. No one's stealing anyone's
No,
job.
no,
Like,
absolutely.
you've just got to be good at what you do, and you've got to
There's
really want it.
one
demand
other
it.
drawback that that I would say about for me moving away from a professional services company within the channel into contracting was very quickly you lose touch with what's going on within the market.
Oh, okay,
Because-
that's interesting.
because you're going and you're focusing very specifically on this technology, and you might go and work for 2 years on that project, and things evolve so much during that time, and you're very, very focused. So there are some drawbacks to that as well. So one of the things I would say to anyone else that's doing contracting now is definitely take the time to invest in yourself too. Keep training yourself.
How are you
Keep an
doing
eye-
that? Just training and networking.
Training. I think it's a much easier since we started since we started Cyber Vigilance. It's become slightly easier, especially when we work with the two guys. So one of the things that, again, this is something I stole from Nebulous, which was
borrowed.
what is essentially the engineers when they were coming in the morning, and they would put together a bulletin of headlines. That's what's happening in the security industry today, or what happened since yesterday's bulletin. And basically the guys put together a digest for us to ingest essentially, so we can keep our sort of finger on the pulse. And we've then taken that and we've started using that as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
So we said to the guys, right guys, so you're doing this bulletin, take one of those and put it out on our social media channels. And
as a blog or
so we've started tweeting about the most I suppose interesting or high factor risk exploit that's out there, or a story that's out there.
It's brilliant because just yesterday I had someone had one of my ex-contacts call me and go, you guys are doing really well, you're smashing it, I'm really interested in all the things you're putting out on LinkedIn now. And I was like, that's amazing feedback. We've never had that before, so I think we're starting to make the right inroads.
I think as we were discussing earlier as well, as a business leader, you can, especially when you're maybe a bit too, most IT businesses within the channel are probably too sales led rather than too technical led. But if you are stuck in that position where you've got a lot of operational staff, you can either look at it one or two ways. You can either go down the sales route of get an outsourced or a telesales type person, or start sharing content. That's why we do it, and it's worked wonders for us in a recruitment standpoint, because we'll just release more content. We'll make sure we're at the top of everyone's LinkedIn feeds. Then when people start coming to you start talking about things that are of interest to people. Not everyone's interested in talking about recruitment every time. It's a bit of a chore purchase. Same with you guys. You're not going to be talking about sort of a project all the time, but you could be talking about your interests or whatever.
That's
so
it.
Really
Exactly, and we're also doing blogs as well on our website as well.
Perfect,
so we try to keep that up to date, because I mean there's so many subjects that you can write about, but we're trying to stay current and stay on point with the current threat landscape, to make sure that it's relevant.
So we kind of mix it up a little bit with our blogs. What we do with those is we do sort of shorter, more, this is how you might achieve something with SentinelOne. And then we expand it sometimes. So there's one that Jackson did for us sort of tail end of last year, which was he showed how SentinelOne would protect you against a zero-day exploit, and he takes you through that technically.
Okay, cool.
We're working on some other ones now at the moment, so showing the rollback capabilities of SentinelOne and what happens if you get hit by a ransomware attack, and how rollback would work and take you back to before it happened. So those are some of the things that we're working on currently, and these are like high value, what we perceive them to be high value blog content or content that we can give away essentially for free.
And sort of share that, and then hope in return that you'll get sticky with the client.
Or even if it doesn't, then at least people.
At least you've done some good.
We're making people aware more.
100%.
Well, our capabilities, at the end of the day, we back ourselves technically, and writing these blog articles and presenting this content just shows to people, hopefully, that we're very, very capable.
But we know we do actually know what we're talking about,
Yeah.
rather than just
Winging
using buzzword
winging
bingo.
Yeah, and just Wingosaurus. As you
Yeah,
say.
Wingosaurus,
well,
we
we,
call it the
let's bring
Wingosaurus.
we try not to wheel out the Wingosaurus too often.
And we'll touch on that IT security point because we've got obviously two experts in the studio. Just one question in terms of what businesses are doing out there. What are the biggest mistakes you'd say that most businesses are making out there when it comes to their sort of security provision? Is there
Well, not believing they need to invest in it. And also, so again, Sentinel One is like a next gen active EDR product, and it's with like legacy AV. It's you do your file scan. Has it got a signature that's recognised? Oh, it's a virus. That's sort of a bit. It's getting outdated now with the threat landscape and everything else, and how exploits are coming into the
businesses
to the
today,
business. Yeah.
So we're moving away now. I think James hit the right point. I think businesses are now starting to cotton onto the fact that they need to start investing in their security. People starting to understand it's not a case of will I get breached. It's more a case of when. And it really comes down to risk appetite. How much are we willing to spend in order to prevent that happening? Usually it's not enough. Usually they'll spend a lot more money fixing it than they would have if they had just invested in the technology in the first place. So it's about, one of the things I don't like doing is fear mongering. Going to say, you will get breached, buy this, it will fix
but
that.
that happens a lot now because it's very much in the media, security. It's when we speak to candidates, it's kind of the sexy place to be because everyone's being, it sounds really sort of sadistic, everyone's being breached, etc. But it's very well covered, these sort of big hacks, etc. So there is a lot of scaremongering out there.
And I think and then the media's cotton onto that, and it's kind of exploded. So then you've got C-level execs that are going, right, how do we protect ourselves from this? But even still, we're not.
But it's going to cost how much? Right.
Yeah.
We'll be fine for another year, and then of course they get breached, and then
It's done.
So we decided to partner with Sentinel One. They are not that big in Europe just now. They are growing big, very, very quickly.
They will be big.
Yeah, they've just gone through some E-series funding, I believe, and it's just the rate's been 200 million. I think they're like a 1.2 billion pound valuation. Dollar valuation now. So I think we partnered with them at the right time.
Yeah.
They hit the sweet spot between endpoint protection and endpoint detection and response. So being able to do deep sort of forensic analysis and also doing the protection piece all on a single on a single agent with a very, very low footprint as well, which is hard to believe actually.
It's a very, very impressive product.
Yeah.
And that's coming from obviously both of us that have seen a lot of products.
So we decided to work with them because I'm not going to say it's an easy sell, but it's easy to demonstrate it and demonstrate the return on investment of that and the true value of that. And as I touched on earlier on, we're looking at doing, we're building out a managed endpoint detection response service. So essentially, it's a wraparound for that. So if you are a potential, if you're looking at your endpoint infrastructure now and going, are we protected? And you're going, okay, right, we're interested in this technology, but we haven't got the team to essentially manage that, and we haven't got the skills today to manage that. We're essentially saying, well, we'll take complete ownership of that for you, and we'll deploy it. We'll operationally look after it for you. We'll deal with the threats, any remediation, any kind of forensic analysis that is required for that. We can take care of that, and we can essentially be a SOC, a security operations center as a service for you guys. So we can be that team.
Yeah,
for a fraction of what you would pay
a specialist. Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think that in terms of, there's some really interesting stuff. It sounds really exciting. I'm very a bit naive when it comes to sort of security stuff, so it's good to learn.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. It's all fascinating to me. But in terms of and we got a bit of two for the price of one on two questions we always ask today. But what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given in your career?
Measure twice, cut once. You know, that's it, yeah. My old man always said that to me.
Before or after he started calling you Judas?
Oh, that was before, during, and after.
Okay, and Sean?
Oh, it's a very good question. For me, nothing's been given specifically to me, but something more I've learned recently from the manager of the football team I support, Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Okay.
Yeah,
I saw
Espiritu
you like a
Santo.
lot of content.
Never mind.
Yeah. Something that I've started to really sort of admire about how his leadership skills and how he manages the team. It seems really cheesy to say this, but I really admire his manager. Not because he's got us right up the table in Premier League. I appreciate that, and we're doing really well in Europa League. But it's more about being humble. Really, remember that different people on different parts of their own journey. They might be a bit behind you, might be ahead of you. So just be humble. Give people support and help where they need it, and also be willing to listen to the people that are maybe a little bit further along the journey. Yeah,
that's really useful. I actually find that I could talk about this forever, but I'm a Watford fan, so it doesn't really help anyone, even though we beat you in the semi-final.
That's right, we got the Europa League slot.
Exactly. Yeah. We're about to be relegated, so
I'm
all
an
good.
Arsenal fan, so I'm still quiet.
Well, no, you're in a better position than Watford.
Well.
But I'm really interested in that. Any autobiography or any Pochettino or Guardiola, I think they could manage any business. It's some of the sort of philosophy through sports management, whether it's rugby or football.
It's leadership. It's not management.
100%.
And it's something that personally I'm still trying to learn the difference between. I've never managed a team before in my life, and now all of a sudden I have one.
Yeah.
Understanding how to empower our employees rather than micromanage them, dictate to them what to do. There's a level of that still, but I tried to make it constructive. James does the same thing as well. But I'm on a journey to becoming, let's say, a leader rather than a manager. So
we just have to try and remember when we were in that position. We were fresh out, didn't know anything really, thought we knew everything, and then it's just about trying to develop the skills. And we want our workplace to be an enjoyable workplace. I mean, you're still there to work, obviously, but there's nothing worse than going to a job that you're not enjoying.
No.
You want to be. If we can make our employees happy while they're working, that's 100%. That's a great environment to be in.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us, gents, and watch this space for Cyber Vigilance.
Yes, thank you very much. Great, thank you.
Cheers,
guys.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.